Hey everybody, this is Jeff Emig from Real Talk 447, and I am joined by my partner Ricky Carmichael here, and we wanted to take this opportunity, as always, to thank the fantastic sponsors that we have on the show. Right, Ricky?
That's correct.
We just have a fantastic group with us that supports each and every show and helps you bring this entertainment to you. So we appreciate them, and now after chasing our next guest down for, what's it been, 6 months now, probably? 6 months?
Been a minute.
Yeah, it's been
He's
a minute.
a busy guy. He's a busy guy.
He's been a little bit busy the last 6 months. So we hope that you guys really enjoy the show that we have coming up here on Real Talk 447. And thanks again to RockyMountainATVMC.com, Slick Products, ODIGrips.com, and of course, Fox Racing.
Said if you can't win, wreck someone who can.
Exactly.
I knew I wasn't winning that.
Why do people not get out of the fast lane?
Every time I see that picture of you riding around with that big ass fro you're wearing, I still get pissed.
It was that night I said preparate, but I didn't say what I wasn't supposed to say, and that's A1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Real Talk 447. I am Jeff Emig, and as always, I got Ricky Carmichael here with me, but you're not in Florida, dude. You're up in Salt Lake or Park City, and it's snowing, right?
Yeah. Well, it was last night, I think, and it was a little bit this morning. I'm kind of a little bit lower in Park City. I'm not up on the proper mountain and in town, so I'm just right on the outskirts of town. So it was snow flurries here this morning when I woke up, but it wasn't heavy enough to stick.
Wow. You guys have had crazy weather up there. First off, what's it been like there? You know, you're 3 races into the 7 races in Salt Lake City. It was super hot and dry or humid. What was it like a week ago? And now you guys have snow and rain, and it's been crazy.
Well, it's definitely been a different experience. There's no doubt. But I've been making the best of it. I've been doing a lot of cycling. Trek was kind enough to give me a bike for out here. I went to their local dealership in Salt Lake and picked it up. And I've just been riding their trail systems. It's cooled off, so it's not going to be quite as pleasant the next couple of days. However, it's been cool. It's been a different experience, but I really, really am liking this place. It's nice. The people are nice. I don't know that I would want to be anywhere else other than here for what the schedule is. So I definitely lucked out.
Well, we could talk about all the crazy weather all we want, but neither one of us has had to be out on the racetrack during it. And our guest here that's going to join us today has been out there battling in the Monster Energy Supercross Championship. So without further ado, let's bring in Ken Roczen, HRC Honda. Welcome to Real Talk 447.
Thanks, guys. Finally, I mean, I've been calling you guys, wanting to get on there as soon as possible, and you guys would never let me.
We never return your texts or calls.
Hey, we were cool guying you, huh, Kenny?
Yeah.
Hey, so
finally.
So I want to hop in. Like, this is really fun, and I don't know that I certainly didn't know it. So we got to hang out with Ken Block last week at his ranch. Was it Friday, I think? And dude, you told me a story that completely, I was tripping out on it. I'm like, come on, dude. And I know what you're thinking. So when you were a little kid and you would get snowed in for some time in the winter months in Germany, dude, you told me that you used to train on a quad. Can you believe that? Pro, he would train on a quad, dude.
Well, maybe that, what, like in the back of the property there?
Yeah, obviously you have been at my place, and we had some really harsh winters. Obviously nowadays the winters are more either really cold or it'll kind of be soggy and not cold enough, and then it'll just rain. But back then, I'm telling you, we got like 3 foot of snow, and we would build jumps with the shovel for snowboarding, and we would have ATVs and quads. The reason we had all this equipment at my house was because this is basically the Central Europe or Suzuki Europe's meeting spot where people could technically come, and we had 450s, 250s, 125s, the whole thing, and people could come and ride the bike. So we had all this stuff there. And then one winter was so bad with snow and so cold that it was impossible to ride a dirt bike. So when I started training and started riding, I was out there every day for hours with because we had like 4 of them, and we would just moto on quads. And that was my riding / some of my cardio training that I did. We did that multiple times a week. And I actually remember my best friend back then, Timmy, we were on a ATV. We needed 4x4 to get through some of the stuff because it was so deep. And we were building jumps for snowboard, and we'd use fire hoses as like ropes to pull us. And we got stuck, and all of a sudden it hooked up, and I pulled his shoulder out of the socket with the ATV.
So you hurt yourself riding the ATV?
Well, not me. He did. He always had shoulder problems, and he popped his shoulders out a bunch of times. But it was his shoulder. He was snowboarding and holding on to the rope, and we kind of got stuck, and all of a sudden it hooked up, and boop, and the shoulder just popped right out, dude. We had some fun back there, and obviously that wasn't too nice. But yeah, that was our winter training back then.
Dude, think about that, Jeff.
Did you ever? Yeah. Did you ever race?
Quad.
Did you ever race quads or 3-wheelers like Ricky did? Have you
gotta get used to them a little bit, especially you take off and you land sideways, and it throws you all sorts of weird. So not my favorite thing to do, but at the same time, for the time being, we had a blast back there though.
Hey, we can all talk like we're 2-wheelers and we don't ride the ATVs and quads and 3-wheelers, but I'm telling you, every one of us has had a blast. So when we were a kid, we had the little Honda ATC 70s, right? And my dad built race cars. And so in front of the shop was this massive, parking lot. And when it would snow, my brother and I get out there on these 3-wheelers, right? Little ATCs. Dude, we were sidetracking these things. We would ride all day long. It didn't matter. Just put on the warm clothes and go out there. The 3-wheelers on a frozen parking lot at ATC 70, that's a good time.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I had a blast. It's not something that I would pick permanently, but for the time being, and us being lucky and having the track there and having the snow and having the quads there and everything, I mean, it's better than, we already were for hours indoors on the spinner and on the rower and all that stuff. So for us, just getting outside and riding that was huge. It was a lot of fun, especially since we had so many of them. So we had 3-4 friends coming out, and we were all rowing together.
Hey, Ricky, have you been to his clubhouse? You been to his property in Germany?
No, I haven't. I've never been to Germany, dude. Like, that's one country that, I haven't been to a lot of, but being in Europe for the amount of times that I have, I've never made it to Germany, unfortunately.
Dude, so Ken, I got a chance to ride there last year. You were here in the U.S. We had a huge group for Fox Racing over there, everyone. And they were telling me that the track has pretty much been the same for a long time, right? And that's where you used to ride like every day was the same place.
Yeah, I hated my life sometimes, dude. My dad would make me go out and do 50-minute motos, but it wasn't like 100% effort because you couldn't, the tracks, we don't, in Germany or in general in Europe, same with France, you always see these tracks being rocky and bone dry. We don't really have the luxury of, we don't get enough people to really put in the track prep and water it and rip it and all that stuff. So we were just riding as it is, and we sometimes wouldn't get for a long time, we wouldn't get any rain. So I just had to ride it like concrete and dusty. So you're really limited on how much pushing you can put in it. But yeah, he would make me go out there, do 50-minute motos and, that over and over, day in, day out type thing. And sometimes I just wanted to, there were many times where I just wanted to throw everything there and be like, hey, I'm done with it. I've done I could probably still right now, you could blindfold me, I could probably still do a hot lap on that track.
Hey, Ricky, so when you ride a track that's clay and then it dries out and it gets all like cracked and blue groove, pretty much the whole thing is like that. Like so hard pack. But there's like these whoops and rhythm sections, but dude, and then they water it, it gets a little greasy and then it's just back to blue groove instantly.
It's tough. But we have, in my dad or in everybody's defense, it's so much money you would have to put in to get the track right. And we don't it's not like in the US, you go to Milestone and there's hundreds of people, you know what I mean? So most of the time people just ride on the weekends a little bit. And it's just tough to put in that put in all that effort and that money to get it right. So, but don't worry, I had plenty of wet days as well at my track or in Lommel, Belgium, no matter where, we had plenty of wet days too.
Hey, Kenny, when you were younger, like, were you hoping that like the conditions would be some days were you hoping the conditions would be so crappy that your dad would be like, okay, we can't ride today?
Here's the thing. As much as I bitched about how crappy the track was and whatnot, I had such a sweet balance of people were always at my house, all my friends, and it was kind of like the meeting spot in our town, right? So the way I always looked at it is, hey, if I just push through these miserable, I don't know, hour and a half or 2 hours of riding, but then the rest of the time I was having fun. We're playing ping pong and darts, and my friends were over, and then at night, I was still a kid back. I was 15, 16, 14, right around that time. And so then I would ride my pit bike across back roads to my friend's house, play PlayStation all night. And so I just had such a good balance where it didn't really, once it was time, I was like, okay, well, let's do this. And then afterwards I was just back on, not vacation mode, but I kind of could do whatever I want to. Everybody lived close by and whatnot. So I don't know. I always stuck to my work. I never ever skipped out or anything like that. I couldn't. I'm not that kind of guy, and I couldn't because I would have way too much like bad thinking in my head if I would skip. Some people like they would just be like, "Oh, I'm not doing it today," or say they did it and they didn't. It would destroy me internally and mentally. So I always just did my thing, and I just toughed it out.
Hey, so speaking of your childhood, tell me about this crew that you ran around with. I remember first seeing them with the moped videos and all that sort of stuff, but there's a name for that, for your group. What's that called?
Turbine Cremant. So Turbine Cremant is what it's called. And we all have these
what
mopeds
does that mean?
from, what's that? Well, I think it's from back in the day. Cremant would be like the city Apoda that we lived in, like way back in the day, like when it was DDR, like West Germany and East Germany. That was pretty much what it was called. I think it's more like just the old language thing, And so we had this group, and we all have old mopeds. Mine was from 1984 or something like that. So we'd get these old mopeds, and then we would put different cylinders on, cylinder heads and everything, just kind of tune them out a little bit, but try and keep them stock at the same time. And we were a small group of friends, but then at the same time, we were kind of big, like it was taking off, especially when I was starting to write GPs. I mean, they would come and we would have train horns and chainsaw. There would be like 30, 40 people just partying at the campground, right? And then in the GP of Germany, we took over the entire hillside of just noise and flags. And we weren't so much, we always said we're not a fan club, just friends. So we were all friends that really enjoyed the kind of like the old school way of living in Germany. Kind of like what our parents, or at the time where our parents were our age. So we still kind of reflected on that, and all had these old bikes. And we had something called, I don't know, I guess you would call it maybe Father's Day here, but we had a day that's just made for men. Like we could go out and do whatever we want. So we would all go out on these big rides for like hours and just go in the middle of nowhere, and we would grill something up, would have some beers and right back all on these old bikes. So it's a good time. It's nice to think back. I haven't actually thought back to that time for a long time, so it was nice that you brought it up.
I love it, Ricky. He says it's super old, like 1984. Like, dude, I was 13 already.
Oh, I know, but think about the mopeds though. Like they were just simple 2-strokes. You know what I mean? And I'm considering. Look at what the motorcycles would look like now. They're fuel injected and software, computer and all that kind of stuff that didn't exist back then. So when we were younger, we had a couple of mopeds and like street legal vehicles. We had this one moped. It was by Yamaha. It's called the Yamahopper, and DG made the pipe for it. It was like a pro circuit, like FMF or whatever. They're probably still around and make something for something. But this pipe was super long, right? So it was a 50cc Yamaha moped engine. And with that pipe on it, this thing would rev so high, dude. And it was so fast. And it was like, it'd be kind of rich in the middle, blah, 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 blah. And then once it hit the top and it leaned out, it was a blast, man. So
yeah, you always just would see those back in the day, like in our day, Kenny. So many people had those as pit bikes. So you did, like, all around Loretta's, like, people would just be tapped out on that road, like what Jeff is saying, and just going for it. Hey, so that's why. So you were talking about like ping pong, and you guys were always at your place, your buddies, and having a good time if you weren't riding. So that explains why you're so good at axe throwing too.
Kind of like a jack of all trades. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, well, like, dude, I was blown away. And then like that big thing, the over the head one,
Heavy.
dude, that was insane.
If you think about it, it's a simple task. I mean, you have an axe and a piece of wood that you huck that thing at, right? Simple task and so much fun though, especially just figuring out all the different sizes that require a bit of different techniques and distances and whatnot. But that's the first time ever that I've done anything like it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Hey, have you ever been to Oktoberfest?
I have actually personally not. Mm-mm.
So I went to the Husqvarna KTM factory a few years ago before Motocross of Nations in Italy. And so we were in Salzburg. So it was the Austrian, beginning the first night of the Austrian Oktoberfest, beer fest, whatever. So John Eric and I were there, and so we just caught the very end of the night. And so all these, you know, huts are built and everyone's drinking beer and they've got that sort of stuff. And they've got one thing out there, a big log with a knife, and you, like, for fun, you sit there and do the thing on your hand. Like, everyone's drinking, and yet it's literally out there for people to have fun with. Like, they're playing marbles or, you know, tic-tac-toe or something. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense at all. Right?
Different culture, isn't it nice?
Yeah, you guys, yeah, they give you a knife and axes when you go drink beer. Right?
Great idea, right?
Yeah. John Hines and Jeb and I were together. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But that definitely explains some of the cultures. So
that's the thing. You know, it's kind of it's the same with my wife, right? Like, she sometimes forgets that I am from Germany, but I still have that in me, you know what I mean? Like, the culture differences. That's why I'm sometimes like, what's completely normal to me is where she's like, the heck, like, not like what's wrong with you, but I still have that in me of, you know, being German and just having different way of thinking, and like, this is totally fine and normal to me, where she's like, dude, that's not normal here. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, well, you walk into the kitchen with an axe in your hand and she thinks you've flipped it and you're going to kill her, but you're just going to have fun to play some games.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But no, and also I'm always in my chonies, right? I'm usually always in my underwear running. She's used to it now, but people like in the US, that's like totally not normal for them. Like, when we do yard work, like, I'll be like putting my underwear all the way up, you know what I mean? So I get a little tan and whatnot. And when my cousin's over, it's the same thing, you know? And she just looks and she's just like, you guys are weird, dude. That's not normal. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's how long have you guys been together now? 6 years, 5 years, something like that?
6 years, probably. We started dating in the end of 2014, I believe.
What's the relationship with her? How's that added to your life or changed your life?
You know what? The cool part was that when we got together, it was not forced, right? Like, we were just, it kind of all just happened. I know it's always funny to say when you tell somebody, hey, don't go out, and like, somebody will just come along and it'll just kind of happen. And it always sounds so like a fairy tale almost, but that's really how it was. And it started super slow and nobody was supposed to know in the beginning, just because she was still with Wasserman and all that kind of stuff. And it was like such a no expectation, like, hey, we're just going to start seeing each other. And then, and the cool thing was that she really, she was a businesswoman, you know what I mean? So she was really after her work and is super smart on that side of things. So it was a nice addition to my family, I should say, you know what I mean? So, and what I like about it is that she's not afraid to, actually, she likes getting her hands dirty, you know, when it comes to whatever that is, yard work or anything that's kind of like, you know, a little bit of a pain in the ass and that is not normal for women maybe to do or actually to enjoy. She kind of digs it, but I think she, you know, obviously she told me she grew up with in the Savage family, and that they went to the track, and you know, she had a smaller brother, and she was around, I think, Josh Hansen back in the day. They were all riding pit bikes and whatnot back when they were younger. So I think she had a nice upbringing in the industry of just being around. Like, she was kind of like a tomboy. So I think that kind of was nice for me because she loves riding bikes and like just she likes the whole scene and is really into it, and at the same time she's so smart with everything that comes with when it comes to business, and she helps me a lot with whether that's email or scheduling and all that kind of stuff, so I don't have to deal with it. So I really enjoy that, and that's a woman that you kind of need in the family. So, and especially
Yes.
sports.
It seems like you got a good balance, like when you guys are in Florida and you're posting and like, dude, you guys are wake surfing and all that fun stuff together. Like, I'm assuming that when it's just you and her, she's driving the boat and then you can do it, and then when you're driving the boat, that's so much fun, huh?
Yeah, we have a very good balance. It's really nice. And then on top of it, just with her family, like I'm really close with her family too. That's what makes it so nice. And obviously Blake, him being a big part of my program, and we got a good crew and a good team going. So it really works out because they took me in. Like my family, obviously in Germany, so they're not around her as much as I would like to. So, but I'm always around her family, and they're so like first of the family living, they love their kids so much, and the parents are together, and it's a really good family living, right? And I was taken right in there, and I really like that. And obviously them living in St. George, and every time I'm there, we go out on side-by-side rides with the dad, and we went to Lake Powell with the whole family and for the first time and whatnot. So they've definitely shown me around, and we always have a good time. So I'm glad it is the way it is.
Yeah. Your career here, you've been so successful in so many ways. World championship in what year was your first world champ or your world championship?
2011.
2011. Championships here in Supercross and motocross, and you're trying to achieve that final step. But you have faced a ton of adversity in the last 3, 4, 5 years that I always say that when you're, and it happens, people criticize, they judge, they rank, they do all these things, but to have a full understanding of what success is, you really have to understand the full story and understand, where people started, what have they gone through. I'll be honest, after when you broke your elbow and all that, hearing the bits and bobs that I would hear, and obviously I didn't talk to you personally, I never talked to your doctors personally, I was kind of doubtful. I was thinking, I know that you have a big heart, I know that your determination level is off the charts, but what you had to go through, I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be able to come back. And the fact that you have right there, to me, is like one of the greatest accomplishments ever. And then the adversity with Blake and all this sort of stuff. So, this last 4 years has been really tough. Well, I mean, I think that there's got to be so much pressure on you, and that support from Courtney and the family and everybody has got to be what helps you through it.
Well, first off, I appreciate that. I mean, including, I think that's people's go-to, right? Like they see my last race, or they see the races and they're like, oh, Tomek better, this better, and he's not good and he sucks and whatever. People forget that there's a lot of other things to take in consideration. Success, I am very happy and very proud in what I have been able to accomplish, but I'm also a guy that I never settle for anything less than giving it 100. And I haven't been as successful as I would like to, because I feel like I was made for winning, and I was so used to winning. I'm considering 2009 I was really good, and 2010 was my second year in the GP, and I was winning quite a bit. And the only reason I didn't get the championship is because my bike broke 3 times. Otherwise I would have won the championship then already, which would have been unbelievable. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, it didn't happen. And then 2011 I won a lot and came over here. Had to kind of deal with some adversity just because things were new, and me being young. Like now, if I would have, or if somebody would come over and they would want my help, I feel like I could take them under my wing and get them a certain calmness that you need. Because back then I was stressing about, I was used to outdoors riding. I was so good at it, and I would go out and practice, just feel good and just have that confidence, and nothing ever bothered me. Well, coming to the US, racing Supercross, I was on a new team, KTM. The bikes back then weren't the greatest. Like it was just coming up, they were all still kind of old, and I had zero experience with Supercross. So I feel like there was a lot put on my plate, and then just to go out, I still had moto mentality. So I was borderline not happy and kind of stressing out a little bit. not feeling the greatest in free practice because I was trying to learn the tracks. The whoops were super big. I wasn't used to all that. The bike was all sorts of weird just because I've never ridden suspension that was that stiff. So, man, there was a lot thrown at me, and I think that's why I made the mistakes that I made as well. You know, in the beginning, I had a couple of big get-offs. Luckily, I found myself really quickly, and then the success kind of started happening. Well, went through that, and as much, you know, when I went into the 450 class, I still had a lot to learn, and even now still have a lot to learn. You know, you think you're one of the top riders, and I have a lot of things under control, and I can control my emotions well and all that kind of stuff. But you're still always learning. So once 17 came around, I came off such a high, right? Like I feel like in 2016, I had some of the best riding that I've ever done in my life. I was the fittest at that point and the strongest that I've ever been. I learned a whole new way of how my body moves and what to do, what to feel good. And I had everything under such control, and the people around me were phenomenal when it came to my training. I really liked my bike. So everything kind of just fell into place. And so I came off such a high ride going into 17. And then obviously I really destroyed my arm. And I think, I don't know, if it wasn't for me coming off of such a high and so confident and so strong, like, I mean, I was physically the best I've ever been at that point. You know, that was the strongest, the fittest. That's why I feel like I was so confident in myself, because I felt like nobody could mess with me because I was fitter and better. I did more. My bike was better. All of these things kind of fell into my place, and I just felt like nobody could beat me but myself, which I did. Bummer part was it wasn't really anything that was a mistake of mine or whatever. Like, obviously when you see the crash, like, I kind of bottomed out and it rebounded on me, and I had a big get up. Like, it was what it was, right? Like, I didn't like looking back to it and picking it apart on what it was. So after that, I still had that. Oh, actually, in the beginning, I wanted nothing to do with dirt bikes because I was super frustrated. You know, I was on a high, and this whole thing, I was expected to win, and I wanted to win, and this whole thing fizzled and crumbled away. So for a while there, I didn't even want to hear anything about dirt bikes because I knew that if I was able to go and ride again or race again, it's ways out there. Not to mention that the doctor, you know, when we got to Vail, they said that I almost lost my arm, and we don't know, and there's so much damage, and 8 surgeries in 3.5 weeks, and it was a big mess. But at one point, something just flipped in my head. I remember, actually, I was laying out in the grass in my yard, and something just, it was like a switch flipped, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm so tired of just being here, being at home, and in pain and all this stuff. So I just worked my ass off. You know, I hired a full-time personal PT that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars over these 2 years. Just because I needed it morning and night every single day, you know. It took a lot to come back, and then taking just a year off, coming off such a high, you know, I wanted to come back and just win right away again, which funny enough, it almost happened at the second race. But being that long, I think what was negative for me was that I secluded myself from the sport, right? I didn't watch any races. I unfollowed pretty much almost every single moto person on social media because I didn't want to look at it. I was so, if I'm not racing, because I was winning, and if I'm not out there, these guys are getting better, and they're racing, and they're having fun and making money, and I'm just sitting at home like months and months and months out from even closely being able to ride again. So I secluded myself, I think, a little bit too much. So when I came back, everything felt foreign, which is funny because I've ridden dirt bikes and raced dirt bikes my entire life all over the country, or all over the world, really. So that took some adjusting, and only to come back with another injury that was career threatening again. It definitely took a toll. And obviously one of these injuries really messed with my body, as in I developed or got the Epstein-Barr virus that I've struggled with. Like you said, I've been struggling for the last, 3 years, 4 years with always that something going on. And even I'm tired of using an excuse, but I would love to just, if it was just for the injuries and pain, like, I'm solid right now. You know, I don't have any pain in my arm. Every now and then I get aches and whatnot, but that's all not a big deal. If it was just for that, I'd be completely fine. But unfortunately, whatever came with the stress that was put on my body, all the medicine that I had to take, and something just changed in my body, and I have never been the same since. I still got it in me. I'm still fast. And for a lot of the things, I can control it, and sometimes I can't. So that's kind of like has been my story here for the past few years, and it's very, 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 very frustrating. And I don't know if anybody understands, but a lot of people just see my results and they're like, well, what the heck? But there's a lot more to it. And obviously that was Blake too last year, right? So there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of things that are going on.
Do you ever reflect though? Like, I know like a lot of people want to throw shade and all that, and they don't know the backstories and what have you. But do you, when I see people commenting, the amount of respect that you get from what you've been able to come back from, do you ever, I mean, just sit back and reflect on yourself and be like, damn, dude, I was almost done. And what you have been able to come back and do, win races, be in contention for championships. I mean, dude, it's unbelievable. No one, I mean, not a lot of people were thinking this was going to happen. And I know that your career is far from over, but have you ever had a moment like in the off season to just think about, dude, I've been able to do probably way more than I thought I was going to do after what happened in 2017? Because you have, dude. It's incredible.
Yeah. Not anymore. I think in the beginning I did, and the feedback that I've gotten was so positive. I mean, it's like, you know, like you said, like people were borderline tripping on what's going on, you know, and how I'm coming back and all this stuff. And I was actually interacting with a lot of fans on, because they messaged me with their, obviously now, like I can't talk to everybody, like there's a lot of people out there, right? But people came to me with problems, and I always try to help them, whether that was injuries or personal stuff, family stuff. So I was trying to help as much as I could. But I think because I am who I am and I am so hard on, I probably should reflect a lot more. But because I am as hard as I am on myself, I've always said when I came back that I don't want to use this as like, hey, I'm not as good anymore, I'm just going to go out there. No, I said from the beginning on, like, when I can race again, whether I have limitations and restrictions or not, I am not putting that on me and be like, hey, well, I'm still out here racing, which it's a fact. It's true. But I want to win. And I said, if I come in here already with more weight on my shoulder and saying like, hey, like, I'm just glad that I'm out here, that's not the reason why I'm out here. I'm out here because I want to win. And I have been far away from title contention up until now. And obviously you see that, unfortunately, like fizzling away right now. We still have races to go. But the most frustrating part was not the injury and now my arm, because I feel like my arm is pretty solid. The only thing I don't want to do, I don't think my arms can take any more trauma, meaning no more broken bone. Because before I had even these injuries, I've probably broken both arms, I don't know, 4 times before. So I've had a lot of trauma.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I had this was the arm that I injured in 2017. So I have broken this wrist. I already had a radial scar here from the radial head before. And I think even before that, I broke this side of the arm already. Then I have scars over here that I had surgery when I was younger in 2008. And I've probably broken this side already 2 times. So then 2017, this came. And then obviously, I destroyed all my ligaments, all my metacarpals. My second metacarpal on this one was like sandpaper. It was pretty much almost impossible to bits and piece together. And then all these metacarpals up here, they were dislocated from my wrist as well. So it was just a freaking nightmare. And so I think it's more so a little bit of what is it called, PTSD or something like that? Is that what it's called, post-traumatic stress? I don't know. I just, when I get uncomfortable on the track, I don't want to crash. So actually, it's probably a good thing because I'm focusing so hard on not getting out of shape. You know what I mean? So I think I actually have that on my side instead of just sending it and whatever. Unfortunately, whatever came with this whole deal with the Epstein-Barr that was dormant for a long time, and then I get flare-ups, and that is the only part that has been lingering for way too long to be able. It's hard enough to win championships and win races when you're 100%. So when there's something you're dealing with all the time and these other guys are feeling good, it's really hard to compete, to be honest.
That's the thing that fans and critics and everybody, you have to understand. Each person that walks the earth has their own unique story, right? Their own place that they started, their own goals. One thing that's interesting is because of your success and because of the speed you have and the talent you have and all this, even Ricky and I, as analysts on broadcast, Our job is to critique, criticize, analyze, judge, predict, review, all of these sort of things, and that's kind of part of it. But what's the thing that I've always thought is that a rider like yourself, your ceiling, your potential is that of being a champion. You've been a champion at every step of the way, every championship that you've ever raced. Okay, and that if you get a third or fourth, right? It's like, oh, that's a bad night. Well, not really. It's part of the process, right? Mm-hmm. But there are some riders out there that would literally give up pizza for the rest of their life to get that third, to get that podium, right? You and Ricky and myself, we were blessed, fortunate, however you want to characterize it, to where that for us, if we have our best day, that's going to be a win. Mm-hmm. And one thing I think that with broadcasting is that we have to identify that there may be a rider out there that if they get a 10th, that's their win. You know what I mean? And you have to be conscious of that. And I think that that's where a lot of the judgment comes into place, is because you have set the bar so high and you have been exceptional. And the thing that as the rider, we can't let any of that, what Ricky says on the broadcast or any fan say, certainly nobody on social media or anybody else, because you're your own biggest critic and you know what your goals are, right? And I mean, it doesn't take but a second to talk to you and realize that your goal is to be a champion. And right now you're just going through the process, and you've had years where you've had setbacks and years where you've struggled, years where you've made some strides forward. And I think that this is one of those years. Obviously last weekend last race, I should say, wasn't your best race of the year, but I know from the time that I've spent around you that you're going to take this and analyze it and try to see what you can do different to move forward with your career.
Yeah, it unfortunately it comes down, like, I would love, there's nothing more that I love than to be out there and get whatever it is, whether that's second, third, fifth, fourth, and I just got beat. Like, that's all I want to do. That's all I want to say. But, and unfortunately now, obviously you can see I got beat big time, but it wasn't, when you see my speed and like, I've put in so much freaking work, and especially preparing, I put in so much work for what I was able to, and my body allowed me to, and then sometimes even a little bit more. And especially coming up here to altitude, I mean, I was like, I am in this thing so hard, like mentally, there was nothing more that I want than this championship. So I slept in an altitude tent in preparation for this, because I'm like, hey, the quicker I can get acclimated to this thing. Obviously Eli living on the, this is all kind of plays a role, Eli living at altitude. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to spend these thousands of dollars on an altitude tent so I can prepare myself for this, right? So I'm doing all this thing at home, I'm training, sleeping in the altitude, but that was once we knew that we were going to Salt Lake City. I'm like, altitude right away. My mind is like, I don't care. I like investing in myself. I spend a lot of money in my program just because I want to do the best possible. And so I did that, I did all of this, and then I come here, and then this is what happened. And I know that I'm being held back by something, you know what I mean? Like, I have certain issues and I'm being held back, and it's so freaking frustrating, because I don't think ever in my entire life, no matter what, I was lapped twice and I got 10th and I went backwards and nothing worked. And I'm going so freaking slow, but something isn't right. And it's really, 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 really frustrating. That's all I can say. On the other hand, all I can do is try, and I'm going to continue. Like, we don't have time in between. I don't have time to be in my room crying about stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm going to come back on Wednesday, and I'm going to try this whole thing again and see where it puts us. I am in close contact with all of my doctors, everybody from my team. They're doing a phenomenal job, and I just want them to know that I do too. And I know that they know. I'm just putting everything in motion over here. And so I'm just going to continue trying. I mean, it ain't over until it's over. And it's a bummer that the last two races, it went from being super close and looking really good to not looking that great by any means. So just the difference between, like I said, winning at this in this class is really hard as it is when you're 100%.
Oh yeah.
So when you are not, I mean, look at the difference.
Yeah. Ricky, so 2 races ago, so race last Wednesday, that first 9 minutes, Kenny was on it. I was so impressed. You know,
It's
and you can
normal.
tell, right,
You know,
as riders, it's like you look at what you were doing on the bike, you're like, oh, he is on right now. And then you just kind of hit that wall, and it's kind of, you know, I didn't understand what was happening. But man,
I don't think
he looked fantastic then.
I don't think anybody but me does. You know what I mean? And then that's what I mean by how am I training my butt off and I'm putting all these things in motion, and then I come there, and that's, you know, how I wrote there in the beginning, that's my normal, as in, like, yes, I'm trying hard, but at the same time I'm able to do that, and there should be no reason I can't do that all the way till the end, you know, in a normal state is what I'm saying.
Well, and you could see, like, it was the second time that you guys raced. And yeah, I mean, dude, you were on. I'm like, oh, dude. And the conditions were, in my opinion, right up your alley. Like I told Ralph, I'm like, I think Kenny's got it. The whoops were long. You've been good them your whole career, but you're exceptionally well this year, in my opinion. And I'm like, I think Kenny's got it. It's at nighttime. The track's not going to be quite as blown out. I mean, I thought it was playing right into your hands. It was going to be a little bit cooler, not much in the first day, but I'm like, he'll be good. And then that's why, like, I'm just like, dude, there must be an underlying issue, because you know, you just don't do that. And you're a fighter, you're a warrior. And so for me personally, that's why I'm like, man, there's got to be an underlying issue. I wanted to say that, just like, you're just not being, you know, you're just not like giving up because Eli passed you back. And then when you told everyone what was going on,
we passed each other a couple of times. A good rider has to be able to deal with that. Like, just because I get passed doesn't mean I'm falling apart, I'm going backwards. Like, I have dealt with that before when I get passed and I want to latch on, you know? So my thought normally when I'm strong and I'm fit and I'm you know, there's a certain aggression that you need, but I get to the point where I was like, all right, here we go. Like, I also don't want to weed myself by any means, you know, because what does that do me any good? So I ride to my capability, like, however I think is my 100% at that point. And yeah, that's the tough part. You want to tell me that I go from winning races and like being super competitive, and all of a sudden after not even halfway, and then I get put 30 seconds on me? How is that normal? Like, that's why I'm like, I tell all my people, I'm like, I'm sick of like doing all this stuff, and then that happens, you know what I mean? It's like, but what is there I can do?
Yeah, I mean, you're handling it perfectly, Kenny, and you have great people around you,
yeah.
And you have a great inner circle.
Unfortunately, I tell people all the time, I'm like, life comes with stress. Your body is supposed to take stress. You can't wrap yourself in freaking cotton balls, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is. Every job, that's why we do competition, right? Like, when there's competition, you get butterflies in your stomach, you prepare yourself, you have all these things that you want to check off to be your best. And it's normal in life to deal with stress. And the Epstein-Barr, for example, it's a typical thing. You know, it's a herpes virus, and it flares out with anxiety, with stress, but that's normal. Everybody has a little bit of something going into competition. That's just, and I even tell when they say, I can't even hear it anymore when it's about anxiety and all that. And whether that's true or not, I'm like, I came in here, honestly, I know that there was a lot on the line, but I came in here as relaxed as possible. Literally, I was like, I don't even care about results because I had so much fun. Like, I've been, whether, you know, I have my good days and my bad days, unfortunately too many of the bad ones, but I'm always like latching onto, you know, this is all part of like getting fitter, getting stronger, getting better. And I've always figured, I'm a racer, right? So I've always figured it out racing, whether it doesn't matter how the week was or whatnot. I always come to the races and then I win. And I tell people sometimes, I'm like, I don't even know how, because my week wasn't that great. But then when I come to the weekend, something switches in my mind and I'm like, I don't care what happened. Like, I'm one of the best out there and I'm going out there, you know, and that's how I'm able to be, or to win, even in situations when I don't feel the greatest. So yeah, it's even when I'm the most relaxed, I almost can't control these flare-ups.
Yeah, the one that's interesting control, right? My dad always used to preach to me about results are actually something that you can't control. Okay, effort, and whether you gave it your best effort, that's something that you can control. Because you can give your best effort and not win. You can give a crappy effort and win. We've all done that, right?
Yep.
So what is it that you can control? Your determination, your desire, the effort that you give. And if you go to the race, each race, with the mindset of I'm gonna give it my best effort, and what happens happens, and then after that I'm gonna go home. And if you do the best effort thing, right? And this really is like a life lesson. If you know that you gave it your best, no matter what the result is, you can feel good about it. But if you gave a crappy effort and then there was a crappy result, all of a sudden you got that feeling, oh shit, I really didn't do what I was supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the thing.
focus on the
after
effort.
some of the races, I always say, I'm like, honestly, I just want to dig a hole and sit in it because I'm out of options, or I'm out of whatever I can do because I'm already doing everything. And that's, like you said, the only reason I am how I am right now and I'm relaxed is because I know that I've done everything and more. I've done more now when it comes to checking off all the boxes than I would have in, for example, 2016. In 2016, I did my work and I weren't racing because I didn't really have any problems. I didn't have problems recovering. I didn't have problems with fatigue and all that kind of, we come in this altitude. I did my training. I'm going off and get an altitude tent so I can prepare myself. So I did that, right? Hyperbaric chambers, all these types of things that are basically puzzle pieces that should help me big time. I'm doing right now, and then I go out and do that. And the only reason I can be relaxed right now is like, hey, I'm going to continue checking off boxes. I'm going to continue to be on my health, as in checkups and blood panels, all that kind of stuff. And that's really all I can do. The rest is just, I'm going to go out there and try my best. And whether, how I feel on the bike, sometimes I'm out there and I'm like, dude, I can't, it's like, I can't go. It's like somebody is like holding me back and I can't, there's like, with the Epstein-Barr, when you're tired or lethargic or whatever, you don't have aggression, like you're just riding around, so.
Yeah.
But
hey, so
again,
with this tent that you sleep in, is this a single or a double?
Tent?
Yeah, that you sleep in, the altitude tent.
Altitude tent.
You can get whatever you honestly can get anything. You can get a king size tent. I actually had one for as quick as it was that basically covered my entire head, and my upper torso, and then you have a chain right here. So I slept in it basically with my upper torso in the actual tent, so my head's in it.
But the rest of you isn't.
Yeah, the rest of me isn't. No, but you can get other tents that are full covered. But when we had when it said, hey, we're going to Salt Lake, I had less than 2 weeks. I had 10 days. So I was researching and calling the company because I didn't know with this whole COVID thing, like if I order this now, am I able to actually get it in time? What is the deal? And I feel like that was the quickest and also the most, the easiest way for me to travel with. Because I started it up in Florida, then packed everything up. I thought this was for right now the most portable, best thing I can do because I had, a week in Florida, then I traveled to California, and every day counts with this, right? So I had 4 extra days in California, so I just kind of bought the head part of things. So yeah, my lower body is out of the tent and my head is in the tent.
All right. Well, I was just trying to think about the timing here because as I understand it, your wife has announced that you guys are going to be parents now.
Yep. Correct.
Just last week. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we are super excited. Our due date is like September 24th right now.
Oh, fantastic. So
awesome.
She's well on her way.
Yeah, exactly. We did it. It wasn't ever a thing of like, hey, we're trying to keep this super quiet. We just kind of went with the flow. It took a long time until we told people. I had a couple of people, obviously when it happened, a couple of people that you talk to just because you want peace of mind and get everybody's input that are close to you. And so I didn't even tell my team till later on, and then my parents too. And then other than that, I was like, why do we have to make this huge announcement like people do on Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
And Instagram is really just I was just tired of social media in general a little bit. So I'm like, let's just go with the flow and people will know soon enough. You know what I mean? That's why I never put it on a big board, and then obviously when we came here, people found out, and then we were like, hey, maybe it's time that there's a lot of negativity and bad things going on in the world. Why don't we actually do a post that's something positive to us,
Yeah. So have you guys, are you going to find out the baby's gender?
Boy.
Oh, little boy. All right.
Yeah, because she's over halfway, so we have known for a while. Actually, the funny thing was we did the whole blood test early on because we wanted to check everything off the list, right? Like saying if the kid has any, disabilities, you can check all these things. So we do the blood test, but then I don't know if they didn't take enough sample or also during this COVID time, there were some things on hold. So we actually found out a little bit later than we like to, but yeah, we end up getting a boy.
Fantastic.
Well, I personally think you guys are going to be awesome parents. Kenny, you and I had this conversation. I see how you interact with your teammates' children and your niece for so many times, and I get you love it. You absolutely love it, and I think it's going to bring you some closure. I personally think it's going to give you this feeling that you have never had before, and I'm really, really excited for both of you and Courtney.
I think there's two ways to look at it. I think people look at it either as kids, it's holding me back, it's holding me this and that, or you can embrace it like how we do. I am actually very, very, very excited, and I'm going to use it as in my favor a little bit in strength. Are there going to be times where, when they're newborn and this thing where it's tough? Absolutely. But actually the way that it worked out was actually perfect because it was an off-season baby. And technically, this has kind of been thrown for a loop now. But we have a guest house. Like, that's the cool thing about Courtney. Like, she's like, hey, she actually called the team and sat them down and said, hey, I don't want you guys to look at this as we are trying any less because the sport is our priority. And I can go sleep in the guest house. She will take care of it because I need my sleep to be able to recover and stuff. But other than that, I think I'm very excited to go through this whole process and actually, I think it'll actually give me some energy as in you have something different to look forward to coming home. It's new, and then go off to practice, go riding, do my bike ride, and then be home, be back with the family. So I'm actually looking at this as a big positive, and I can't wait.
It certainly gives you purpose. Right. And we just saw on one of the broadcasts, what was it, last week with Blake Baggett with his family. And he's been very open about the purpose that having a child has brought to his life and all this sort of stuff. And it fills a piece of the puzzle that you're trying to put together. But
I think it relaxes you a little bit, because any sport, any competition, it gets serious, which you obviously have to take it serious. But sometimes this little bit of uplifting energy of something different than just what we do makes this whole thing, I don't know, it makes it come off the shoulders just a little bit easier, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it. Well, I personally think it.
How about Ricky? Oh, sorry, I was going to say, how about Ricky? He started with 2 straight away at the same time, twins.
Are they twins, really?
Yeah. I personally think that it puts things in perspective. Mm-hmm. Like you're so entrenched when you don't have kids. You're so entrenched in your work, and it's like there's no other life out there other than that. But then when you have a child, or for me, my case, children, at one time, it puts things in perspective. You're like, okay, wait, there is more to life than just racing. So that's my thoughts.
I can't wait to prove. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say prove people wrong, but like I said, I think a lot of people look at that as kind of like a distraction, and I can't wait to prove people wrong. And then you can see with Eli, he's just got a newborn, and he's obviously crushing it. So there's got to be something positive.
Kenny, you've done a fantastic job coming back from what you have come from, the injuries, coming to America. Growing up and born, raised in Europe, coming here, living your dream to be champion on this side of the pond. What you've gone through your injuries, just your fortitude, your dedication, your will, your desire to win. I don't think anyone should ever question you, despite what you got going on, like what's happening right now. What you've done and what you've been able to do should speak for itself, and you shouldn't have to explain a damn thing to anyone, my man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that big time, and I think it's it's just unfortunately when we want to win so bad, right? Like I try to put all this thing behind me, but it's a fact that things are just different now than it was before, but that's the beauty of trying to make it work. And you know what the cool part is, that it seems like every season, no matter how crappy I was the year before or whatever, for whatever reason, people always see me as a title contender, whether that is people in the sport, media people, whatever. They look at me as like, well, it's going to be Tomac, it's going to be Webb, and Ken Roczen. Like, it's kind of an honor to always be in that group. So I must be doing something right. So it's nice, you know. I should probably reflect on it a lot more, but I just want to win so freaking bad that I get cooped up in this, like, just anger, you know.
Yeah. Hey, Kenny, look, of the 4 championships that I won here in the U.S., 2 of them were won in the final race. Well, actually, the final moto. So I can tell you that you have to keep the mindset of it's not over till it's over. You still have 4 races left, right? There's still 4 races. Anything can happen. We can see, you know, with the weather last week. And if you keep that effort going and that mindset and that belief, and you give it your very best to the final checkered flag, you know,
yeah,
it could be.
Well, that's the thing. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back Wednesday. Like, you know, I have this day to kind of reflect on how tough the weekend was, but then also you gotta look forward to. So you can bet your ass that I'm coming back on Wednesday like nothing ever happened, and I'm gonna try this whole thing over again and give it my best for sure. I mean, it's like you said, it ain't over until it's over. And I actually just watched was it the 30 on 30 or 30 for 30 on ESPN or whatever? I just watched it actually about the Boston Celtics and the Lakers and how back and forth the momentum went in the final in the NBA Finals. Is crazy because the Celtics thought they had it completely in the bag, and this whole thing switched again, and it just kind of like went back and forth, you know. So it just, you know, just like you said, it ain't over until it's over. I'm gonna continue going out there and try my best, no matter what I think or what people say. So,
all right, well, I think that's a good place to end it. How about you, Ricky?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kenny. Thanks for coming on. I know you're a busy man, and this is some different, different situation. Obviously, we're out here for the month, but anyhow, yeah, we appreciate it, man. I know it's a short turnaround. We race. You'll be back at the track here in a day and a half. So, thank you. Buddy.
No, it's all good. These things are fun. You know, it's a little bit more of a. It's not. You don't see it as an interview. You know, it's more of a conversation between friends and that have kind of gone through similar things in life and of racing and being champions, and probably everybody had their struggles. So I enjoy these things actually. So I'm glad we could finally figure it out. And I know it was on me that I haven't been on this podcast earlier, but we finally got it. Better late than never.
But this is just when it was meant to be. So we appreciate your time, Ken, Ricky, as always, dude, you crushed it. Love the insight. Before we leave, make sure that we let everybody know if you like this, make sure you hit the like button, follow, subscribe, all of that stuff. If you get a chance and you're out there and you're looking for new products for your bike, new riding gear, ways to clean your bike, make sure that you check out odigrips.com, Slick Product, Rocky Mountain ATV MC.com, and of course Fox Racing. Everybody are shipping directly from their site, and you can find all those products at some of the best retailers in the country and world also. So Kenny, we got the dog now too.
Yeah, Rio Roczen in the house.
Yeah, that's why I was
Instagram, right? If you want to, it's got an Instagram for Rio. Yeah,
Rio Roczen. We're not very active on it right now, but yeah, we have been having for a while.
All right. Well, if you want to follow Rio, go on Instagram, check out Rio Roczen and his lifestyle, and what he has there is he's being pampered and spoiled until the baby comes along.
He's the most spoiled dog ever, I swear to you.
Right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching and listening. And as always, our friend Andrew McKeague and the Andrew McKeague Band are going to take us away with this old line. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That's the show.
Thanks, Kenny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate your honesty and opening up. That was really cool.